Deep beneath the churning turquoise waters of the Gulf of Mexico, something massive is moving. It is not a creature of the deep or a natural tectonic shift. It is the sound of industrial evolution. Machines the size of city blocks are clawing at the seabed, pulling millions of tons of material from the earth in a race that most of the world hasn't even noticed yet. Texas is currently engineering a transformation so vast and so complex that it is fundamentally shifting the global balance of economic and energy control. While the headlines are often captured by Silicon Valley startups or space exploration, the real power play is happening right now on the ocean floor, off the coast of the Lone Star State. This is not just a construction project. This is a total terraforming of the American coastline designed to ensure that Texas remains the undisputed heavy hitter in the global energy game for the next century. To understand why this is happening, you have to look at the sheer scale of the operation. We are talking about the largest dredging and infrastructural expansion in recent history. Texas is effectively moving mountains, except these mountains are underwater. For decades, the ports of the Gulf Coast have been the lifeblood of the American economy. But ships are getting bigger, the world is getting hungrier for resources, and the old infrastructure simply cannot keep up. The solution? A multi-billion-dollar offensive to physically reshape the seabed. This project is known as the Corpus Christi Ship Channel Improvement Project. But that clinical name doesn't do justice to the sheer audacity of what is actually happening. They are deepening the channel to 54 feet and widening it to 530 feet. That might sound like a few numbers on a page, but when you realize they are removing millions of cubic yards of sediment to allow the world's largest very large crude carriers to dock directly at the Texas coast, you start to see the vision. Why does this matter to you? The way energy moves around the planet is being rewritten. For the longest time, the United States was a customer, beholden to the whims of global markets and distant powers. By pulling these millions of tons from the seabed, Texas is cutting the tethers. They are creating a literal deep-water highway that allows American energy to flood the global market at a scale never seen before. When you can fit 2 million barrels of oil on a single ship and sail it straight from a Texas pier to the other side of the world without having to offload to smaller vessels in the middle of the ocean, the math of global power changes instantly. Yes. But more importantly, it is about leverage. The engineering behind this is mind-blowing. Imagine a fleet of specialized vessels, equipped with massive rotating cutter heads that can chew through the hardest clay and rock on the ocean floor. These dredges are industrial beasts. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pumping a slurry of sediment through miles of floating pipelines to designated placement areas. Some of this material is being used to create new habitats and reinforce wetlands, acting as a massive coastal defense system against the rising tide and powerful storms. It is a dual-purpose mission. While they deepen the arteries of global trade, they are simultaneously using the earth. They move to build up the natural defenses of the state. But there is a second layer to this story that is even more futuristic. It isn't just about what they are taking out of the seabed. It is about what they are putting back in, or, more accurately, what they are storing beneath it, deep under the Gulf of Mexico. Within the very geological formations that once held oil and gas, Texas is preparing to store millions of tons of carbon dioxide. This is the flip side of the energy coin. As the world moves toward a lower carbon future, the race is on to see who can manage emissions most effectively. Texas has realized that the same geology that made it an oil giant can now make it the world's leading carbon vault. Huge pipelines are being laid, and old wells are being repurposed to inject carbon deep into the saline aquifers beneath the Gulf. This is a massive play for the future of the planet's atmosphere and the state's economy. By controlling the seabed, Texas isn't just controlling where energy comes from. They are controlling where the waste goes. The sheer volume of material being moved is almost impossible to visualize. If you took all the sediment being pulled from the Texas coast during these expansions and piled it up, you could bury entire cities. We are talking about tens of millions of tons of sand, silt, and clay. This massive relocation of Earth is what allows for the arrival of the giants. In the shipping world, size is everything. The bigger the ship, the lower the cost per barrel. By deepening these channels, Texas is making it cheaper to buy American energy than almost anywhere else on Earth. This creates a gravity well for investment. When a company knows they can move their product faster and cheaper through the Gulf than through the Suez Canal or around the Cape of Good Hope, they bring their business to Texas. This shift in control is happening fast. Just 5 years ago, the idea of the US being a net exporter of energy on this scale seemed like a pipe dream. Today, thanks to the massive dredging projects in places like Corpus Christi, Houston, and Freeport, it is a reality. The balance of control is moving away from traditional energy hubs in the Middle East and toward the Gulf of Mexico. This isn't just about Texas. It is about a total realignment of the geopolitical map. Every ton of earth moved from that seabed is a brick in the wall of a new economic era. Now, let's talk about the technology that makes this possible. This isn't your grandfather's dredging. These modern vessels use sophisticated GPS and sonar mapping systems to carve out the seabed with surgical precision. They can see through the murky depths to ensure they are hitting the exact depths required, without damaging underwater infrastructure like pipelines or cables. It is a high-stakes game of underwater Tetris. Dozens of these vessels are working in concert, coordinated by complex logistics networks to ensure that the busy traffic of the ports isn't interrupted while the very floor beneath them is being ripped away. As we look further out into the Gulf, the scale of infrastructure only grows. We are seeing the rise of offshore oil and gas terminals that act like giant islands of steel. These facilities are anchored to the seabed in deep water, allowing the largest tankers in existence to load up without ever coming near the shore. This minimizes the risk of accidents near populated areas while maximizing the speed of export. It is an end-to-end logic chain. From the drill bits deep in the Permian Basin to the massive dredges in the ship channels, to the offshore loading terminals. Every single piece of this puzzle is being optimized for one thing: total dominance of the energy landscape. But what happens to all that sand and mud? This is where the environmental engineering comes in. In the past, dredging was seen as a purely industrial necessity, with little regard for the ecosystem. Today, it is a massive exercise in beneficial use. They are building up marshes that act as natural sponges for storm surges. This is crucial because, as any Texan knows, the Gulf can be a violent place. By using the seabed to protect the coast, they are ensuring that the very infrastructure they are building survives the next big one. It is a feedback loop of industrial growth and environmental fortification. The economic ripple effects of these projects are staggering. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs and billions of dollars in tax revenue. But more importantly, it is about energy security. Having a stable, deep-water gateway to one of the most productive energy regions on Earth is a massive strategic advantage. Other nations are watching this closely. They see the speed at which Texas is moving, the efficiency of the dredging operations, and the massive scale of the carbon sequestration plans. This is a blueprint for the future of coastal industrialization. However, the clock is ticking. The global transition to new energy sources is accelerating, and the competition is fierce. Countries like Qatar, Australia, and Brazil are all investing heavily in their own port infrastructure. The race for the seabed is a race for the future. If Texas fails to keep up with the dredging requirements, they risk becoming a bottleneck. If they can't deepen the channels fast enough for the next generation of ships, that trade will go elsewhere. That is why you see this frantic pace of activity. It is a race against time and against global competitors who are just as hungry for a piece of the pie. What makes this particularly fascinating is the human element. The engineers, the captains of these massive dredges, and the divers who work in the zero-visibility depths of the Gulf are the unsung heroes of this mega-project. They work in a world of crushing pressure and constant motion. The sheer logistics of keeping these machines running, fueling them, and maintaining their massive cutter heads is a feat of modern management. Every ton pulled from the bottom is a testament to human ingenuity and the refusal to be limited by the natural shape of the Earth. As we look toward the next decade, the transformation of the Gulf seabed will only accelerate. We are likely to see even deeper channels, more massive offshore platforms, and the expansion of the carbon storage network into a global hub. Texas is essentially building a subsea highway system and a subterranean storage warehouse at the same time. The balance of control isn't just changing, it has already shifted. The Gulf of Mexico is no longer just a body of water. It is a highly engineered industrial engine that powers a significant portion of the global economy. The next time you see a massive ship on the horizon or hear about energy prices in the news, think about what is happening beneath the waves. Think about the millions of tons of earth being moved every single day. Think about the massive machines chewing through the seabed to make room for the future. Texas is playing a long game, and they are playing it on a scale that is hard to wrap your head around. They are literally reshaping the planet to ensure their place in the New World Order. This isn't just about geology or shipping routes, economy, and the environment. It is about how a single region can leverage its natural advantages through sheer engineering force. The seabed is the new frontier, and Texas is currently winning the race to claim it. As the millions of tons continue to be pulled from the depths, the map of global power is being redrawn, 1 cubic yard at a time. The balance of control is changing fast, and the Gulf of Mexico is the center of the storm. Consider the role of the Very Large Crude Carriers, or VLCCs. These ships are so large that they can carry 2 million barrels of oil. To put that in perspective, that is enough oil to power a small country for a day. Before these dredging projects, these ships couldn't get anywhere near a Texas port. They had to sit miles offshore, and smaller ships had to go back and forth, transferring the oil in a process called lightering. It was slow, it was expensive, and it was risky. Texas is inviting these giants directly to the dock. This effectively cuts the cost of export significantly, making American oil more competitive on the global market. It is a simple equation of depth equals dollars. But it's not just about oil. The expansion of these ports is also about liquefied natural gas, or LNG. The U.S. has become one of the world's largest exporters of natural gas, and the Gulf Coast is the primary exit point. LNG ships are also getting larger, requiring deeper and wider channels. The work being done on the seabed is directly enabling the flow of gas to Europe and Asia, providing a crucial alternative to energy from volatile regions. A massive amount of soft power. People tend to listen to you. The environmental impact of this much earth moving is, of course, a major point of discussion. You cannot move millions of tons of material without changing the underwater landscape. However, the move toward beneficial use is changing the narrative. Instead of just dumping the sediment in the middle of the ocean, it is being used to build up the shoreline. This is essential for protecting the very refineries and ports that are being built. It is a survival strategy. By creating new wetlands, they are creating a natural buffer against the massive hurricanes that regularly sweep through the Gulf. High-tech sensors are used to monitor water quality and ensure that the dredging doesn't disturb sensitive habitats more than necessary. It is a delicate balance between industrial ambition and ecological preservation. The carbon sequestration aspect adds another layer of complexity. You need specific geological formations that can trap the gas safely for thousands of years. The Gulf of Mexico happens to have some of the best geology in the world for this. By using the seabed as a storage site, Texas is positioning itself as a leader in the emerging carbon economy. Companies from all over the world could eventually pay to have their emissions captured and sent to the Gulf for permanent storage. This turns a liability into an asset. It is a brilliant pivot. They are using the same expertise they gained from taking things out of the ground to figure out how to put things back in. The scale of the investment is also worth noting. These aren't just state-funded projects. Massive amounts of private capital are flowing into the Texas coast. Companies are betting billions that these deep-water ports and carbon hubs will be the center of the energy world for decades to come. This creates a virtuous cycle of growth. More investment leads to more infrastructure, which leads to more efficiency, which attracts even more investment. It is an industrial snowball effect that is hard to stop once it starts rolling. Technologically, the developments are just as impressive. We are seeing the rise of autonomous dredging vessels and underwater drones that can inspect pipelines and seabed stability without human intervention. The data being collected from the Gulf floor is being used to create highly accurate digital twins of the seabed. This allows engineers to simulate the impact of storms or new construction projects before they even happen. The Gulf is becoming one of the most mapped and monitored patches of ocean on the planet. Why is this happening so fast now? Part of it is the realization that the world is changing. The energy transition is no longer a distant prospect. It's happening. Texas leaders know that they need to adapt or get left behind. By investing in the seabed now, they are securing their relevance for the next 50 years. Whether the world is running on oil, gas, or hydrogen, or searching for carbon storage solutions, the infrastructure being built today will be the foundation for all of it. They are building a platform that is fuel agnostic. Whatever the global energy mix looks like, it will likely pass through or under the Texas coast. The geopolitical implications are huge. As the U.S. becomes more self-sufficient, and a larger player in the global export market. The old alliances and power structures of the 20th century are being tested. The ability to project economic power through energy exports is a major piece of the American strategic puzzle. Every foot of depth added to the Corpus Christi or Houston ship channels is a strategic gain. It reduces the world's dependence on less stable regions and anchors the global energy market in the Gulf of Mexico. As we look at the sheer physical labor involved, it is a reminder of the raw power of human industry. These dredges are not just machines. They are instruments of national policy. They are working in conditions that would break most equipment, grinding away at the earth to create a future that most people will only see in the form of lower prices or more stable energy supplies. The sheer tenacity required to maintain these operations year-round, through heat waves and tropical storms, is a testament to the work ethic that drives these projects. The balance of control is changing because Texas is willing to do the heavy lifting. They are willing to move the earth literally to ensure their economic future. While other regions might be bogged down in bureaucracy or indecision, the Gulf Coast is moving. The sounds of the dredging cutter heads and the sight of the massive pipelines being laid are the sounds and sights of a region that knows exactly where it's going. It is a masterclass in large-scale thinking and execution. In the coming years, we will see the results of this work in even more dramatic ways. We will see ships that are longer than 3 football fields docking with ease. We will see massive clusters of carbon capture facilities along the coast, humming with activity as they pump CO2 deep into the seabed. We will see a coastline that is more resilient and more economically powerful than ever before. The million tons being pulled from the Gulf today are the foundation of a new Texas and a new global energy landscape. This project is a reminder that the most significant changes often happen where we aren't looking. Down in the dark, under the waves, the world is being reshaped. The physical reality of the seabed is being altered to fit the needs of a global economy that never sleeps. It is a story of grit, technology, and a clear-eyed vision for the future. Texas isn't just watching the balance of control change. They are the ones changing it. They are pulling the future out of the seabed, 1 ton at a time. It is a mega project in every sense of the word, and its impact will be felt for generations. As we wrap our heads around the magnitude of this, we have to recognize that this is a continuous process. There is no finish line. The sea is constantly trying to reclaim what has been dredged, and the ships are only going to get larger. This means that the work of maintaining and expanding this underwater empire will never be truly done. It is a permanent commitment to engineering excellence. The Gulf of Mexico has become a massive, living laboratory for the future of human infrastructure, a place where the limits of what we can build are being pushed further every single day. The story of Texas and the Gulf seabed is a story of ambition on a planetary scale. It is about taking the gifts that nature provided and refining them through technology and hard work to build something that can withstand the test of time. It is a transformation that is fast, deep, and irreversible. As the world watches, Texas continues to pull millions of tons from the seabed, changing the balance of control and securing its place at the head of the global table. This is the new frontier, and the work has only just begun. The giants are coming, the carbon is being stored, and the map of the world is being redrawn beneath the turquoise waters of the Gulf. This is the reality of the modern world. A world where power is not just found, but engineered from the ground up, starting deep beneath the ocean floor.